Hi, Maria. How are you doing?
Hello, I'm doing fantastic. How's it going?
Good. Thank you for joining us again. I'm so excited to have you back.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. This is fun.
So I have a lot of new listeners. Can you introduce yourself again to the listeners and tell
Yeah, for
us
sure.
who you are?
I'm Bonita. I'm a fearless femme energy coach and EFT practitioner, and I do a lot of work with women, using a lot of tapping mostly to help them get into alignment and really learn how to create outer wealth through inner wealth.
So I've done a few of your courses and I'm absolutely love it. Can I did a podcast a little on EFT, but you're so much more knowledgeable. Can you explain what EFT and tapping is?
Yeah, so EFT, also known as tapping, stands for Emotional Freedom Technique, and it's really based on ancient Chinese medicine, similar to acupuncture, and the idea that there are energy channels running through the body, and when you can tap into them, you can release negative emotions as well as limiting beliefs, physical ailments, pain, you name it. It's a very, very flexible tool. And so it's based on science that's been around for many, many, many years. Modern science is only just beginning to investigate it, just beginning to kind of study it. And there is a few different studies that show that it really calms the amygdala. So it's fantastic, especially for anxiety.
Yeah. So what's the difference? So you introduced me also to TFT.
Mm-hmm.
So what is TFT?
So TFT is what came before EFT, because EFT was kind of, well, let's just say tapping in general was discovered kind of by accident, by, I think it was was it psychologist yeah, I think it was a psychologist. And he had started to read some books on Chinese medicine. There was a woman who had a fear of water, and they did absolutely everything they could think of to help this woman with her fear. And basically he was about to give up and say, I can't help you.
Yeah.
And so he had been reading about the different tapping points, and under the eye specifically is for fear. And by this woman tapping under her eye, they were able to heal her fear, her phobia of water almost instantaneously. So they began to investigate, and originally they came up with these algorithms, which is what TFT comes from, for field therapy, and they're very specific algorithms for different issues. So there's one for phobias, one for trauma, one for all these different things.
Mm-hmm.
And then they decided to come up with EFT because EFT is just easier. Like I put up loads of free EFT videos. Like anyone can do it. There's no learning curve. Whereas with TFT, you do need a bit more experience. You do need to kind of have a bit more of a basic understanding. So that would be kind of the main difference. But they both involve tapping on your body, and they both are pretty awesome.
Mm-hmm. How did you get involved or find EFT?
Yeah. So I found EFT, it was really interesting. I initially just was curious, because I was working with a lot of women around food issues, around emotional eating, and there's also a lot of anxiety that comes up. So I just got a bit curious, and the big thing that completely kind of, I don't know what the phrase is, blew it out the whatever for me, is when I had a session on PTSD that I was dealing with after having an abortion. So for about a year, I had kind of flashbacks, and certain smells would trigger kind of panic and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And at the time of my life, I'd done enough kind of like yoga and enough things that when these things came, when I started feeling this panic attack coming through, when I felt the trigger, I could breathe my way through it, but I couldn't do anything to stop it happening, right? I would walk down the street and a certain smell would trigger something, right? And out of curiosity, I asked the EFT practitioner, hey, can you help me with this?
Mm-hmm.
And in just one session, all of the symptoms completely disappeared. And I've not had any PTSD symptoms since that one session. So that for me was absolutely life-changing. And since that day, I've been studying it and helping as many people as I can, and just getting it out there, because it's a tool that can really impact so many people, and the benefits just keep multiplying.
Yeah.
I keep finding more ways that it can be used.
Yeah. Well, personally speaking, so I, would do meditation in the morning, like when I first wake up and then start work. And I would get so overwhelmed with work. And even I would have like a session with you lined up, and it would be coming up. And I'm like, I have so much work to do. I can't do this, but I would force myself to do it because I knew spending an hour with you tapping would calm me down, and every single time calmed me down, brought me back to grounding. You also did like some shadow work with me before that helped so much, but even teaching me how to tap so that I can also share it with my clients. So I'm truly grateful with that for you for doing that. But I just want my listeners to learn about tapping too. Yeah, I just think it's so great. So you were talking about tapping under your eyes fear.
Yeah.
And I know we've talked about this before. Some places where I tap hurts more.
Yeah.
Why is that?
So there's certain places that are a bit more sensitive, and it can shift as well. Like one day it can be the collarbone, and the next day it can be the side of the eye. And there's a few different things there's a few different theories behind this. Sometimes it's mostly based on the energetic. So the idea is that there is a kind of a bit of an energetical imbalance in that area for you, and by tapping on it, you're helping it. So if you ever feel kind of a bit tender or a bit a bit more discomfort tapping in a certain area, it's just an invitation to tap on it a little bit more. Maybe you can keep tapping on that spot, or even just to tap on it with a tiny bit more pressure. We never want to, like poke ourselves and give ourselves bruises or anything like that, but just a tiny bit more pressure can help. And just be aware of it, because you might notice that it pops up pardon me, with certain thoughts. So they can be things to then explore in a session or in another moment with someone.
Yeah. Can you take us through the points that you tap on?
Yeah, so we tap at the top of the head, and that's based on a bunch of different points, because there's like tons of different nerve endings and stuff at the top of the head. Then we tap just above the eyebrow. Then it's kind of just above the temple area next to the eye, under the nose, under the mouth and the chin, the collarbone, and the armpit area, or kind of where the bra strap goes. They're the most common ones. They're the ones that, they're the ones that I show people most of the time, but actually there's a lot more points. So there's also tapping points on the fingers. There's some on the feet. The ones on the feet, I've got to be honest, I never really use with people.
Yeah, I didn't know.
But, yeah, there's tapping points on the feet, and there's a few more. So you don't, with the TF, when you were asking me earlier about the TFT and the EFT, the TFT focuses on specific ones. So, if it's a phobia, you might tap under the eye. Whereas with EFT, we just tap kind of everything, and that way we kind of always get everything. You can't mess it up, basically.
Can you do too much tapping? Is there like side effects, I guess, if you do too much?
Yeah, that's funny. I got that question not that long ago, because someone contacted me and they were like, I've done 10 of your YouTube videos today and I'm feeling a bit weird. Is that okay?
Oh, really?
Yeah. So that there isn't really like a negative side effect to tapping too much. I'd say in general you can't, but because when we tap we kind of hit the lymphatic system as well, it does dehydrate you. So you just have to remember to drink a lot of water. If you don't, this person that messaged me, they were not drinking enough water, which was kind of the main issue. And the other thing is just if you're doing something from a place of lack or abundance. So some people tap like I don't know, a bit maybe obsessively, because they want to get a certain result and they're so attached to the outcome. And I think that that's nothing to do with tapping, that's to do with any technique or anything. If you're doing it for the wrong reasons, it's not going to get you the best results.
Yeah. So I have I've gotten really thirsty before if I do like 3 different tappings in a row, but I do always have water with me. So that is funny. That kind of, I guess, makes sense then that I get really thirsty. But so I typically do, like I do one of yours and I do a patience one every morning. And then now I'm doing like a sugar detox. So I do like a sugar one, like sugar cravings one for that. And then your YouTube video, which actually, since we're speaking of it already, and I'll leave this in the show notes. Can you share your YouTube channel?
Yeah, so it's the Vida Bonita. And I've got lots. I've got a 30-day tapping challenge. So
Yeah.
if you want to get started, I think that's probably the best place to get started, just with short videos to get just for 30 days. I think the challenge has really created big shifts. But yeah,
Hmm.
check it out. I can put it in the notes.
Yeah. So do you think a lot of people do it? Because we could do it with our kids too. If you have
Yeah.
kids, to help them with their anxiety or stress,
hmm
overwhelm. A lot of people also do it with manifesting too. How
Yeah.
does that work with manifesting?
So that has been the kind of the big shift as well in the last few months for me and for my clients, because I was seeing a lot of people around food issues, and then people kept coming to me for different things kind of behind the scenes. And it's been a
Hmm.
lot about manifesting, getting into alignment, and as well money mindset. And so the way that tapping can really create big shifts for you is the fact that what we do is we release a lot of those negative beliefs that we have. We're not, it's not about covering stuff up, or often when we want to do this work, we notice we have a limiting belief, like, I don't know, like, I have to work really hard for money and it can't come easy to me, because I was brought up in a household where I was told, if you don't work hard, you're never going to get anywhere, and you're not going to be deserving of the results
Yeah.
and those kind of things. So with tapping, what we first do is we recognize those negative beliefs and we acknowledge them, because most of our negative beliefs are trying to protect us or trying to help us in some way or to keep us safe, right? So when we can acknowledge that, and we can sort of thank our subconscious for doing that, even though, it's
Hmm.
pain and we don't really want it, we can release it. Then we can start to reprogram and bring in some of the positives and the things that we want to believe. And so it's with EFT, you can get aha moments, and you can reframe things that have been in your mind a certain way for many, many years really quickly. And I think sometimes
Yeah.
it's almost like, I can't believe it's that quick, or I can't believe it works that well. To give you an example, I worked with a woman not very long ago who had a really negative relationship with her partner around money. And she'd spent like 20 years upset about a few, just a few different things around money with her partner. In one session of tapping, she released all of it. And she was just like, I can't believe that I've even had these beliefs for 20 years that have
Yeah.
been hurting me and hurting my relationship. And she's like, I still can't believe that in one session of tapping, we were able to do that. Obviously, everyone's results vary. Some people it takes a bit longer. It's different for everyone. But if you're curious to try it out, I would just say give it a go, because it has scientifically, it's been proven to have about an 80 to 90% success rate. So there's just really not nothing to lose by giving it a go.
Yeah. I think I'm witness and can um attest that it's worked for me for like different things. And when I was doing your 30-day, was it your 30-day challenge? I got like a bonus. Like I
Yeah.
haven't got a bonus, and well, I hope my parents aren't listening to a bonus in like years, and I got one. So yeah.
Yeah. I thought my favorite one was when you manifested the money. You signed up to work with me, and then you tapped, and then you manifested the money the next day. And I think that was one of
Yeah.
my favorite manifestations.
I know, that's cool. It works. So I started a new thing also this season, asking my guest if you have a morning or a nighttime routine, and if so, could you take us through it?
Yeah. So my morning routine is kind of always changing, but it tends to involve meditation and yoga, some tapping, and some journaling. And then ideally, if I have time, I either go for a walk or I go to the gym, depending on what day it is. So I think
Yeah.
that's the most important thing. My nighttime routine is not as succinct, but the same thing. I do a bit of journaling, sometimes tapping, sometimes a meditation. It kind of depends what's going on.
Hmm. And then this is kind of like along with it, and it's probably could be this exact same things. What do you also do for self-care that you haven't just mentioned, if anything else?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for me has been like listening to my energy, because before I used to think I have to work. I have to keep working. I
Right.
have to keep taking action. Whereas now, especially during certain times of the month, like when I'm on my period and stuff, I'm just like, no, I'm gonna sit here for the afternoon. And I used to not be able to do that, and I'd be riddled with guilt. But
Yeah.
now I do it. I know Nikki knows because I've made her do it as well
Yeah.
sometimes.
Yeah. That just reminded me like when we were sick and I had a Zoom with you and you said, "What are we celebrating?" And I said, "I didn't do anything this week. We watched like movies and TV." And you're like, "Well, that's a win for you. That's a celebration." I was like, "Yeah, it is."
Yeah. Yeah, we get so stuck in that hustle. We get so stuck in the hustle culture because we're all brought up in it. But really, the paradigm that we're moving into, the way the world is shifting, it has to be sustainable. And the only way for things to be sustainable is when you're respecting your own energy and working through it.
Yeah. Well, where can the listeners find you?
So you can find me on most platforms: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube at the Vida Bonita. And yeah, send me a DM. I love to chat to people, and I'm grateful to be here.
Thank you so much for coming on and joining me again.
Oh, you're so welcome. So much fun.